These 5 masterpieces didn't become famous by accident. Each one contains hidden layers of meaning that transform them from simple pictures into complex statements about everything from religion to politics to the very nature of human existence. Let's kick things off with what might be the most mysterious figure in art history. A man standing on a cliff, staring into an endless fog. You've probably seen this painting on everything from book covers to motivational posters. But here's what they don't tell you about the wanderer above a sea of mist. Friedrich painted this in 1818, right after marrying his wife Caroline and honeymooning in his hometown. Sounds romantic, right? But this painting is way more political than it appears. That dude in the dark green coat? He's wearing what's called an Altdeutsche outfit. Basically the 1800s version of a Make Germany Great Again hat. After Napoleon had spent years stomping all over German territories, German liberals were pushing hard for unification. They wanted to ditch the old nobility and create one strong Germany. Friedrich was all about that movement, and this painting was his way of saying it without getting thrown in jail. But here's where it gets really interesting. Friedrich was deeply religious, and some scholars think this fog-covered landscape represents divine creation itself. His buddy Carl Gustav Karras had this theory that fog was basically God's assistant in creating the world, turning bare mountains into lush forests. So maybe our mysterious wanderer isn't just contemplating politics, but literally watching God's creation unfold before his eyes. Speaking of divine creation, let's dive into a painting that Van Gogh himself called a complete failure, the Starry Night. Plot twist, it's now the most recognizable painting in the world. Van Gogh painted this masterpiece in June 1889 while locked up in a mental asylum in France. He was having a rough time dealing with what we now think was bipolar disorder, possibly made worse by lead poisoning from his paints. The guy couldn't even paint in his bedroom. He had to make sketches there and then work on the actual painting in his ground floor studio. Here's what's mind-blowing. That bright star to the right of the swirling sky? That's actually Venus, and astronomers have confirmed it was visible exactly as Van Gogh painted it in spring 1889. The man was having mental breakdowns but still nailed the astronomy. The village below? Totally made up. Van Gogh couldn't see any village from his window, so he created one from memory and sketches. Even in his darkest moments, he was building hope into his art. Now, let's cool down from cosmic drama and talk about what seems like the most innocent painting ever made. Vermeer's The Milkmaid just shows a woman pouring milk, right? Wrong. This thing is loaded with more hidden meanings than a conspiracy theory forum. First off, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the foot warmer on the floor. In 17th century Dutch art, foot warmers were basically code for female sexual desire. When placed under a skirt, they heated up the whole lower body, if you catch my drift. And that wide-mouthed jug? Yeah, that was another symbol for female anatomy that every Dutch person would have recognized immediately. But here's where Vermeer was a genius. While other artists were painting kitchen maids as objects of male desire or comedy relief, Vermeer treated his milkmaid with incredible dignity. Look at her concentration, her careful movements, her solid, real presence. Art historians think she's making bread pudding, using up stale bread to create something delicious for the household. The painting is built on 2 diagonal lines that meet at her right wrist, focusing all our attention on that stream of milk. Vermeer even painted over a wall map and a clothes basket that were originally in the scene, because they distracted from his main message. Honest work is beautiful, even sacred. And those tiny dots of light on the bread? That's Vermeer's famous pointillé technique, making ordinary bread look like it's sparkling with divine light. The guy was basically saying that everyday labor deserves the same artistic treatment as religious scenes. Let's talk about the most analyzed fingers in art history. Michelangelo's creation of Adam on the Sistine Chapel ceiling looks straightforward, God giving life to the first man. But doctors and art historians have been freaking out over this fresco for decades, and for good reason. In 1990, a physician named Frank Meshberger was staring at this painting when he had a jaw-dropping realization. All those figures swirling around God, they perfectly outline a human brain. We're talking anatomically correct down to the brainstem, frontal lobe, and optic nerves. Michelangelo had dissected plenty of corpses in his career, so he knew exactly what he was doing. But wait, there's more. Other researchers noticed that the red fabric around God looks exactly like a human uterus, complete with what appears to be an umbilical cord hanging down. So maybe Michelangelo wasn't just showing spiritual creation, but physical birth as well. And in 2019, someone discovered that Adam has an extra rib painted on his left side, exactly where Eve's rib would come from according to the Bible. This might have been Michelangelo's way of showing that Adam and Eve were created simultaneously, not sequentially like the church taught. Remember, Michelangelo had a rocky relationship with Pope Julius II, who commissioned this work. Some scholars think these hidden anatomical details were Michelangelo's way of subtly disagreeing with Catholic doctrine, while creating one of the most beautiful religious artworks ever made. The gap between God's and Adam's fingers? Some say it represents the eternal distance between human and divine. Others think it's the split second before the spark of life jumps across. Either way, it's the most famous almost touch in history. Finally, we arrive at the painting that isn't what its name suggests. Rembrandt's The Night Watch. Here's the first shock. It's not set at night. For centuries, dark varnish made everyone think this was a nighttime scene, but when they cleaned it in the 1940s, surprise, it's actually broad daylight. This painting broke every rule of group portraits. Instead of lining everyone up in neat rows like a class photo, Rembrandt created a full-blown action scene. But here's what most people miss. This isn't just any random moment. These guys are moving out for a specific purpose, probably to welcome an important visitor or participate in a public ceremony. The young girl carrying a dead chicken isn't random either. She represents the company's symbol, since clawen means both claws, like chicken claws, and refers to their type of musket. Rembrandt was paid 1,600 guilders for this masterpiece. Each of the 16 main figures chipped in 100 guilders. That was serious money in 1642. But some of the guys in the back weren't too happy about being partially hidden behind other figures. They wanted their money's worth of visibility. The painting survived Nazi occupation, multiple relocations, and several vandalism attacks, including a guy with a bread knife in 1975 and someone who sprayed acid on it in 1990. But the most tragic loss happened way earlier. In 1715, they literally cut off parts of the painting to make it fit between two columns. We lost entire figures that we'll probably never see again. These 5 paintings prove that great art never stops revealing its secrets. What other masterpieces are hiding messages we haven't discovered yet? Let me know in the comments which painting's hidden meaning surprised you most. And don't forget to subscribe for more art mysteries that'll change how you see the world's greatest masterpieces.